Welcome back. Global anti-corruption watchdog, the Transparency International, says that Nigeria now ranks the 26th most corrupt country worldwide. Transparency International, while releasing its 2024 Corruption Perception Index report in Abuja, says the corruption poses a major threat to development and has become a dangerous problem in every part of the world.
System, they want to see. The whole idea is to strengthen our fight against corruption. It's not really about any superiority, contest of any idea or understanding of issue. I think what the bottom line is that what Nigerians want, they want an improvement in our, system. They want to see that you apply for admission, you don't need to pay bribe, whether with the money or with their body. They want to see that if you apply for a job, you are giving it. There is allegation that is going on now that Central Bank of Nigeria, after sacking some people, now they are bringing in some people in the name of consultants and allegedly paying them huge amount of money. So that kind of thing, it's not even open for any competitive thing, and that break the rules even in the employment in Nigeria.
Well, to speak more on this, I have Public Affairs Analyst joining me this morning, Dr. Ojon. Welcome to News Now. What are the key factors that have contributed to Nigeria's consistent ranking among the most corrupt countries, despite its efforts to combat corruption?
Good morning, and thank you for having me this morning. There are a lot of factors, and I have to make it very clear quickly that what we are talking about here is corruption perception. And usually perception is a bit very different from reality. But again, if a country does not understand how to create a proper perspective and perception, the country will continue to run into trouble. Just to go straight to the question you asked me, I'm just going to highlight a few issues, taking it from what the other man said in that report. Number one is when you look at our recruitment process, you discover that usually they say the children of the poor cannot have access to some government appointment and recruitment except they know somebody in government. And this always makes it to newspapers here and there. And when this goes out there, it gives a negative perception about your country. Number two, you also can look at the process of installation of leadership, which is basically election. You know what happened in 2023 and how a lot of Nigerians actually cheated that the 2023 election was not as transparent as INEC has called it. These are part of the issues. And in fact, it's even worse when you get to states where SIEC conduct election. You discover that in a state of, let's say, 200 wards, you discover that the ruling party will just clear everything. And all of these things bring bad reputation and perception as far as corruption is concerned to our nation. You can also talk about the transparency of our budget process and system. Sometimes you discover that we budget humongous amount of money for some items that people can actually go to the marketplace and check. All of these things are part of the things that we do. And I also want us to quickly even talk about the behavior of government officials in public places and places of contact. Traveling, even within Nigeria today, has become extremely difficult. Anytime I'm traveling, I just feel like just putting extra money in my pocket because I just want to give this, and just do what I have to do and leave the airport. You cannot continue to have a country like this. All of us as a people, we are pointing fingers at leadership in terms of the president, in terms of the governors, in terms of the House and National Assembly members, but we do not know that our daily life as a people actually determine whether our country will be seen as extremely corrupt or not. For instance, Government can say, oh, we are fighting corruption. We are setting up institutions to do this. But as long as you drive on your road and you have access to roadblocks and police are collecting money here and there, you discover that they are not just going to take you seriously. Government can say, oh, we are doing everything to end corruption. As long as you come into Nigeria and you get to the airport and officials of government in terms of customs, in terms of, what do they call it, all these other services that you see at the airport, as long as they try to collect money from people, you discover that we continue to have this wrong perception. So it's not just about what we are, it's also about how we behave as a people. And if government, because if government is not strategic enough, we'll continue to carry this baggage of corruption, and it doesn't matter whether we continue to improve as a people.
Okay.
We must be deliberate about our action, and it's just beyond taking action.
All right. I mean, given the perception that Nigeria does have now in the global and international scene, if you put it that way, how do you think this ranking will affect what the current president, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, is trying to do? Lure investors, bring them in, let them invest in the country, and in turn, it's also going to help to, proffer solutions to Nigeria's current economic crisis. With this, report, are there chances that our economy will indeed finally heave a sigh of relief, looking at the fact that we're not looking too good on the international stage?
Okay, so globally, really, there are two kinds of investors. There are investors that get actually discouraged by corruption stories, corruption allegations, and corruption realities. And there are investors who actually get attracted to countries where there are corruption. And we do not want to attract such investors because they have mastered the art of cutting corners, and they flourish only in countries where corruption is acceptable, either pronouncedly acceptable or secretly acceptable. So we have two types of investor. We'll continue to, when we have stories about corruption, we'll continue to attract those set of investors who will be willing to play ball, who see gain in actually playing ball. Because the reality is that there are things that if you go through the process, you will not be able to get. But because if you come into a country where you can bribe your way through, it may actually be easy. But that's not the kind of reputation we want to continue to build as a country. We want to build a reputation of not just fighting corruption, of being able to sanitize our public system so that the child of nobody can become somebody in the entire process of governance. So it's neither here or there, but if we want the best of investors, if you want the real investors who actually want to do proper business, then we must, as a matter of urgency, continue to strategically. And you see how I'm laying emphasis on strategy. I think we will get there in the course of this interview. If we are not strategic, we may continue to think we are fighting corruption, and our place in the global corruption index may remain stagnant, because there are specific places that we need to look at when we are actually engaging a fight against corruption. So it may have a bit of negative effect. Nobody really, no serious-minded investors want to romance with corruption.
Well, it seems that corruption is the bane of our current state of economy as well. And you've talked about investors are not coming in. But my final question here on News Down to you, Dr. Ojon, simply is, what are the three major steps that the president can actually take as we speak now?
Okay, first is that I don't want us to play politics with any kind of report, either it's favorable or not. So the first thing is to be aware and to accept. Awareness and acceptance of the reality that, okay, what we have at the moment, the perception we have at the moment is not favorable. Because you know how politicians do, when these reports come out, they have to counter it. Any kind of opposition in Africa is enmity. And that's why we never get to take responsibility. So I think the first thing the president has to do is to call the leadership home. Let us accept this reality. Let us at least be aware of the fact that this is how the world looks at us. Then from there, we'll have solution. Number two thing, is for the government, because we always talk about combating corruption. Everything we have done about corruption is actually about combating, not strategic. It's for the government to first of all be strategic in understanding how does Nigeria constantly get on this list. And I think I'm going to mention a few places where Transparency International draws their figure from. Number one is the issue of bribery. Don't let bribery be so pronounced on your street. I think we need to work on that. Our attention has always been those who stole in secret, but we must also pay attention to those who steal in the open. My brother, corruption is everywhere, but some nations just advertise their appetite for corruption more than the other. Number two is that this report is about diversion of public funds. Let government be deliberate in blocking some of these loopholes, usage of public office for private gain. All of these things, let the government understand. Awareness, understanding of why constantly and consistently Nigeria is on the street. And number three, because you asked me to talk about three of them. Number three is to strengthen our institution so that we can reduce the power in the hand of individuals. Individuals can make call and say, put this money from here to here, and nobody is asking questions. But when we strengthen our institution, when we punish those people who are corrupt, both openly and secretly, when we discourage corruption in public sector, you will see that all of these perception will be improved. In fact, I say that we are 145 out of 180 nations that went through the report, and our point is 26. How they measure that is that if your country gets 100, it means that your country does not have a problem of corruption perception. But for our own country to be scoring 26, I think it calls for concern beyond the rhetorics of we are doing this, we are doing that. We must be deliberate in some of these key areas that these international organizations use to judge corrupt nations and the ones that are less corrupt.
I want to say thank you so much, Dr. Ojon, for breaking it down for us, especially sharing your thoughts on this latest story. Thanks for your time. Have a great day.